this is the stage I've got to now on the ramp area. The pavement's been fitted and obviously the tarmac paint's down. What I've done now is I've attached this ply board, screwed it onto the uprights that are holding the ramp up, just to kind of give it a finished look. And on top of this, I'll be going to do a wall like that, just to kind of enclose it, and that'll just finish off here, obviously allow the road to continue that way. So if I look at it from this angle, it's fixed down now. It's starting to look a bit more complete. These white bits of paper that I've kind of randomly stuck down, they are where the lampposts, I might put the lampposts. Some of them are placed in such an area that I can actually get access from underneath, because there's a lot of wooden supports there to hold it up. So one has to go there, for example, to allow me to get the wires underneath. This one at the corner here, and that one there, no problem. This one will obviously have wires coming out the bottom, so it's not to get in the way of the trains. And if I just go down there and see, there is plenty clearance, but the wires will be attached, sprayed black and attached to the underside of this road and fed through the wall and then through the baseboard beside the rest of the wires. And I've also got one planned for here, just to light up the crossing in the dark, and I might have one here to light up the crossing from the other side in the dark. I've drilled the holes now, as you can probably see there, to each side for the crossing warning lights. The boundaries for the barrier areas are all in place, and I've got the ramps and the paved area, or the tarmac area over the tracks, in place now. It's not been glued in. What I had to do when I was doing this, made it of plastic card, and been primed with an acrylic primer, and then I've just used the water-based Woodland Scenics tarmac paint on top of it, and it's come out pretty well. As you can see on the right hand rail there's a gap. When I eventually glue this section down here, there will be equal gaps at both sides, and the same on the other left hand rail, just to allow the wheel flanges to clear the track and the crossing area without any derailment issues. I've had to take in consideration that some of my rolling stock, namely the Lima Mark III ScotRail coaches, have slightly larger flanges. I'm not going to re-wheel them all, so I've just made a little bit extra room to allow the wheel flanges to clear that, and it's on a very, very, very start of a slight curve here as well, so I've had to take that into consideration. So there's one of the pieces there. See, black plastic card. I've put the side bits on to allow it to sit at an angle. I've cut little corners out there because they will sit in just at the corners there and all will sit in place, and I'll just glue it down with some rocket adhesive, and then obviously I'll put a bit of weathering on it from the track and road signs, road markings. You can see what I've done here as well. If you looked at the last video, I've continued the ballasting along, and it's all been now weathered. There will be obviously I'll blend this in with weeds and bits and pieces, so you'll not notice there'll be no baseboard showing like that. So it's all kind of coming together slowly. It takes a lot of planning this section, because I've got to do one job before I do another, then I have to kind of go back, and a lot of wires as well, which I've had to take time and plan it all out. And I can't fix this down until I've got everything else in place, so I can then fix that ramp down. So really I have to get the street lights, and the last bit to go in will be this section of ramp here, because that's the joining the two there. And if I fix that down, I can then put the ramp part that I just showed you in. I can't do that before, but before I do that, I've got to get all the wires in for the warning lights, the street lights, etc, etc, and test it all. And then the other side here, the bald bit of the girder bridge, we'll have another girder fitted. I'll box in this with retaining wall, and the same at the other side here. And what I'll do with this bit in the autumn, I think about using a concrete bridge structure across there. So it's been a modern addition. Scale seems to do a good one. I'm not sure yet. Very briefly, another thing that I have done is I've moved the signal so that it is now before the crossing, because it was previously stuck down there. This can be then set to red to stop the train before the crossing in certain circumstances. I wasn't going to do it. There were a few suggestions that I should do it from my last video, and I actually thought to myself, well, I've got long enough wires, I've kind of fed them down, they go along here and they go down through the same hole as they did previously, and obviously it goes to the Heathcote board underneath, so it was just a bit fiddly, but I say it looks a lot better. I just trimmed back some of the static grass, glued down the concrete plinth, which is just plastic card sprayed in concrete paint, and then I fitted the signal just as I have done in previous signals. So I hope that's pleased the people who made that suggestion. It certainly pleased me actually that I've now done it. It's it looks a lot better, and the train's clear at no bother, there's no clearance issues. So yeah, that's that done. One other thing I've been doing with the signalling is, as I spoke to you in the last update, I've kind of upgraded the signalling a bit. This now has a sensor here for this left hand feather 3-aspect signal, whereas before it was after the girder bridge, and it split into, obviously the line split into two, so I had 2 pairs of sensors. Now I've only got one. One, it increases reliability. 2, it stops me having to put so long cables and leads to another area of the layout farther away from the signal. And this is now a mass sequencer board that I've got under there, so this will go through its sequence after the train's gone either left or right and past the next signal. So I did that on the other lower main line, this one around the other side of the layout. I did that as well on the newly ballasted section. So that is the signalling now complete. It's been upgraded and it's all fully functioning, so that should be me with regard to signalling the layout. I see a lot of great layouts, and you know, and some have got no signals at all in them, and I thought to myself, I'll probably end up doing that as well. But then when I saw the Heathcote boards and how easy they were to wire up, I decided I'll have to put signalling on this layout. You know, it adds another dimension of realism, and the CR signals that I use along with the Heathcote electronics boards, you know, they're not difficult to wire up, it's just time consuming. Okay, I continue to chip away at this road area at the east end of the station, which has a level crossing at it. Since my last clip, what I've done is I've built the wall on the other side of the ramp. I'm using the scale scenes ashlar brickwork, just like I did at the other side here. Took a bit of work to get the angle sorted so that the brickwork is horizontal, even though the road isn't. And if you go around this side, it's not put in place yet, but it's starting to look pretty good. There's a little kind of paved area here. It's not a pavement, it's not a walkway, just to get the width of the road I needed and the width of the walkway I wanted. That's what I decided to put on that side, and it flows nicely from the one in the car park there as well, up the slope. Another thing you'll notice is the addition of the street lighting. These are from Kite's lights, and they're the stainless steel version, and all I did was I masked off the head, and I spray primed and then took the airbrush with some grey Humbrol enamel, and I put a couple of coats of that through the airbrush. It gives that a flawless finish, better than hand painting, because you know you're going to get a nice fine finish all the way around the pole. And no brush marks, etc. So, and I masked the head off because I like to keep the head at a contrasting colour, and that's where the LED is housed. There were 10 lights for $19.95, I think it was, so it's pretty good value. I say they're not wired up yet. I've got one spare sitting here. They're very small LEDs and 2 very fine wires, a red and a copper, and you get supplied with the resistors as well, and they can go, say, 12 to 16 volt DC. They can also work with a battery pack of 3 volts, but since I've got so many, I've put them into my, or I will be putting them into my 12 volt DC accessory bus wire. So I've got 3 on the slope here, and 1 at the junction, so pointing the wrong way just now, to light the junction area, 1 along at this side, then I stagger them, 1 there, and then I've got 1 just behind where the barrier will be, to kind of light the crossing so obviously cars can see as they go across at night. And I've got one final lamp post to put in there, which I've drilled the hole for, but I've not fitted as yet. What I've also done is I've weathered and ballasted the track right through the crossing, and I'll be continuing to the right hand side over the next few months with the ballasting. But I had to do that in order to then get the ramps put in, so I didn't have a nice shiny clean track as I looked down in between the gaps of the tarmac area, which is still to go in here. That's them sitting up there. Okay, so the lights aren't wired in just yet. The position of them was kind of compromised to a certain degree because of the wooden structures that I've got under here. I couldn't drill straight into a wooden leg and that was holding the bridge up, because I couldn't then feed the wires, so there's a small gap in between the wood uprights there. So that was really the starting point for the whole of the lighting system, that one there, and then I worked the other ones back from that point. One small problem I did have is there a wooden leg here. As you see, I've had to take a chisel and a drill to kind of feed the wires from the light, and they'll get fed through the baseboard and wired up as will the rest of them. Okay, moving on to my road markings. I got these from modelrailwayscenery.com, and they're vinyl and they're self-adhesive, and I got a pack of 4, 2 yellow sheets, 2 white sheets, and it covers every road marking that you would really need on a layout from the 1960s to the modern day. I've not gone over the score with the amount of markings that I've used, based on the fact that my layout's in the 80s and there wasn't an abundance of markings on the tarmac as there is now. There was less cars on the road, and I tended to think that maybe the drivers had more sense and didn't need constant reminding of what to do, what not to do. So I've kind of left it at the bare minimum. The centre mark lines there are 27mm long with a gap of 52. That's scaled down prototypical for that speed limit on that road. I got all this information from a document that I came across online, and it tells you all the dimensions, etc., where to put things, and obviously I scaled them down into 1:76. So they've all been placed on correctly. I've got a double yellow. The vinyl are very easy to fit. You can readjust, so if you're not quite right, you just peel it up again, and then you press it down. I press it down with a edge of my fingers and a sheet of paper just to stop my finger marks getting all over the road. And as you can see there, I've got the reservations. The centre line going to a double solid, which means you can't overtake and pass, obviously because you don't want to allow your drivers to do that when they're crossing the level crossing. As you can see, the lines continue over there and down to the other side. Obviously I've got to put the white lines in there yet, there, and obviously on the ramp, and they'll continue up to the ramp from there. I'll then have a walkway, 2 white lines there, 2 white lines there for the pedestrians. I'm running out of white lines, and I've just found out these particular sheets are discontinued and they've been replaced by a stencil. I'll be sure to buy the stencil kit for the future, the town scene and stuff, but these vinyls have been pretty handy for me. I've used them in the car park as well, and they're withheld, a couple of years worth of summers and winters, so very good items. Okay, just a quick clip here to kind of show you how I attach my brickwork to this the side here of the bridge. I've left a bit of ply jutting out there, and what I've done is I've made up a ply backing with the brickwork glued to it, and as that goes in there, it allows it to fit snugly and flush with the top of the road, and also at the end here the brickwork overlaps the exposed ply, so you're not seeing any ply, and obviously meets with the brickwork that's in there. So when that gets fitted in place, obviously put the brickwork along the bottom there to cover the white, and there will be a kind of embankment kind of coming down here, so a lot of this will be hidden anyway. But this is where the girder will sit. As you notice, they cut the notch out here. Similar thing at the other end, and the girder will sit on top of the ply, obviously with all the capping stones and stuff on top of the wall, and then that will just get situated there. To do the next step, I had to take the bridge off the layout because this required me to fit all the brickwork using the scale scenes, brick papers, card and plywood, which I touched upon in the last clip. I've not covered that bit there because that will be covered anyway by an embankment. Just using the same scale scenes papers I had before. I printed off copious amounts of it before, and it's been sitting really ready to go into this area. What I've managed to add in now are the plinth layers on both sides of the bridge, which have been missing from the bridge since it was put in the layout 2 years ago. So hopefully for shooting videos this will look a lot better now that it's not got a white band along the bottom as it did in previous running sessions, etc. I've got all the capping stones in place, and the gird is just fixed on top of a capping stone, which is kind of cut into the top of the bridge like that. And it's the same at the other end, and that's just glued down on top of the capping stones. What I've got here is a wide capping stone, and there'll be a wall running along here, and just to kind of finish it off. And obviously I've got to put the capping stones on the top there, and a bit of pillar and that just to finish off there. What you also see here is I've got the crossing lights in place. They're not fixed down yet, they're still loose, and they've all been wired in. I've opened the end here, you can see all the wiring. You've got your two sets for both of the street lights, and you've got 2 sets of 4 coming out from each of the crossing lights, and they've got an amber and 2 reds, and when a train gets a certain distance away, the amber will come on solid, and then it will go off and it will flick to flashing reds with the siren, and hopefully I'll get that all wired up very shortly. And I've just put a white border around the black flashing lights there with some vinyl. I painted the posts grey as well, just to kind of give it the effect of you know, what you see in the real world. The other 2 flashing lights have been fixed in place now. They are here, and obviously they're facing towards the back scene there, and the lamp post has been fixed in but not completely wired up yet. And I see I've continued the ramp and the double white, sorry. So really we get to a stage now of putting the bridge in place, getting the crossing lights all wired up, the street lights all wired up, and they've all been tested, and then just finishing off the scene with the road markings completed, fencing, etc. Another little bit of detail that I've added to the bridge area are these drain covers. These are etched brass, and I've just painted them in a sleeper grime colour, and carefully glued them down onto the road surface. I cut back the double yellows and then placed them on the road. Just a little bit of realism, and just adds to the effect. Okay, that's the roadway and level crossing area now complete. I'll take you for a quick tour as a summary. Down here we've got the road sign. That's a scale deal item. Got these on eBay. They're a Hornby product. Good little items, but the transfers on some of them were stuck on squint, which is pretty poor quality control, but I managed to get enough from what I needed for this part of the layout. There are other manufacturers that do street signs, and I'll be using them in the future. The wall's up the right hand side here, and a small paved area here, not for walking on or parking on, just to kind of give it a border so the cars don't get too near the wall. The kites, lights, lamp posts have been painted in Humbrol grey, and we've got the head of the lamp has been left in its unpainted grey, just to give a contrast, as a lot of lamps are different colours. The heads are different colours from the actual poles. Moving up, got another Scaledale giveaway sign, and next to it I've got the Dean Park station sign, which I made myself out of hollow tube evergreen plasticard with a plasticard rectangle on top, painted in the matte grey, and the Dean Park signs on both sides are custom made self-adhesive stickers, which I think sets it off. Most stations in the 80s and even to this day have that British Rail type symbol at the entrance to the station and in the car park, so I thought it was important to put that there at the top of the hill. The side panel's now been fitted, and I painted the top so it kind of continues on, and the pavement, the wall and this part of paving overlap it, if you can see that. So when I take the panel off to get access to wire and things for maintenance, the pavements and that will stay in place. I just thought it was a nice wee touch to kind of continue the black along to the very end. Just masked it off and painted it with the same tarmac paint. I just thought it was a neat little touch. The double yellows don't run onto it because that's the edge of a bit of ply. It's a bit rougher. I didn't think the vinyl would stick particularly well to it. I could add them on with some super glue later. It's not a big option. Telephone box there, an engineer's box for the wiring, painted green, picked out the hinges in silver with a grey base. It's a resin product, and I've got another street sign there showing that there's a gated crossing or a barrier. You see the drain covers there interrupting the WL lines, painted in sleeper grime. Nice little touch. I fitted the girder to the other side of the bridge now, so it's now a complete bridge, whereas for the last 2 years it's had an open side here. But now I've obviously got all the pavements and street markings fitted, and it frames the model area quite nicely. Moving along here, the barriers that I made, the barrier mechanisms, they do work. Okay, I made 4 of those out of plasticard, and the barriers are Pico. But the base of it I made, and the little hinge, if you like, the little rod that they pivot on, it's just a bit of brass rod fed through the hole. You'll see the barriers there, they're etched brass fencing, again primed grey and painted in the same grey as I painted the station sign. Okay, both sides of the crossing. These are, the lights are express models, as I pointed out earlier, and I've just painted the shafts of them grey. They come all black, paint the shafts grey, mask them up, bit of spray primer, and I fitted the white lines, which are self-adhesive vinyl, around to give it that white border, to make it, bring it up to modern standards. Okay, the crossing itself is plasticard, primed, then painted with the tarmac, water-based tarmac paint. The lines that I've put on it are the same as I've used on the street signs, and the double white, sorry, at this side and that side of the passenger walkways, as per prototypical on crossings. And you can see the gap there between the track and the tarmac, just to allow the train's clearance, the flange of the wheels. Moving down to the other side, it's an identical story with the fencing and the lights. The back of the lights are, if you go closely, you see all the wiring, but Express Model's done a really good job of blending that in so it's not noticeable. Slightly wider pavement at the left hand side here, just with the way the wall worked. So I've made the pavement wider. There's a grip box not fixed in place there, but it will be. Slightly longer fence separating the paved area from the barrier and the railway. And I've added in the weed. I started with a base coat of brown texture paint. I then put on some earth coloured Woodland Scenics fine turf. I then built up with static grass. I'll zoom out here a little bit in another angle. Some static grass, and then when that was dry, I added in some of the Woodland Scenics underbush, bush, coarse turf, just to blend it in, overgrown area. And that was really from the mast there to the barrier. So it was a small area I did, but it just neatens it up to make it match. And I did exactly the same at the other side here. Sorry for the camera moving around, guys. Some bushes there, growing a bit higher. So when you look at it at rail level, they stick up a wee bit from the top of the wall. I will eventually do that to the other side, around about this area and that area, but obviously I've not done any scenic work on that or any buildings of the retaining wall, so I tend to do the grass and the bushes last. And all this area here, the wooden area, plus this big gap we worked on in the autumn. I'm still undecided as what to do. I thought about a new building site for new houses or whatever. I'm not sure. I'll get a bit of ply cut in the autumn. It curves round there to matches the curve of the track, and then I'll get this bridge and this area here, which will be partly embankment, part retaining wall. Don't know what to make the retaining wall out of yet. Thinking about using plasticard and dry brushing brickwork for this one, and as it goes along to this area here where the rail disappears under, that will be another girder bridge or whatever, and then it will continue round. But this area is this kind of scenic focus for the autumn. Now that I'll have my ballaster out again and my airbrush for weathering more track. So really the only thing that's missing now are the operating lights on the crossing and some cars.